Okay, we're back. We're going to continue on. What I did, if we can get a zoom up here, I went ahead, we was somewhere in the waist area when I finished up. Now we have the legs done in. All I did was use the same paint, my dark red. I put it on there, filled him in. As you can tell, the other ones are going to be different colors, the boots and where the whites go in the bag. So now I'm fixing to start hitting my reds. That way I can cut everything in with the belt where I get a little bit off or whatever. I'll cut all that in with the belt. And the arms and the hands and all that good stuff. So now we're going to start putting our midtones in there. Then we'll eventually work into our highlights. So come on. These are my wrinkles, so what I'm going to do is just kind of layer. A lot of this will change as I go. I'm basically just capping my paint on there, pushing my paints in there, letting it work for me, and then I'll blend as I come back through on my next layer. Right now I'm just making sure I get all the folds where my drawing is. I don't want to lose that. Lets me know where everything's at. My darks are on there. It gives me a good base to work out of. And it lets me not lose my drawing that I work diligently on, that we can't afford to lose. That's just too much work and time to sketch. And you don't even want to know what all goes into all that. That can be time consuming. Research is everything. But I've been known to model for Santa Claus with pillows. So anyway, there's a lot that goes into the drawing. So the last thing I want to do is lose my drawing. So I'm going to make sure, even though my darks are there, I can tone those down and play with them and highlight more. This just gives me a chance to draw him out, rough him in, block him in, and get the right idea where I want to be. So just keep watching and you'll see how it rolls. Now, if you're an artist out there and you're watching this, there's different ways to go about painting, and I'll be the first to admit that. This is just what works for me. And if this can help artists out there that has never understood what it does, why it does what it does, this is a good insight to explain how I do it anyway. And hopefully it can be helpful to artists out there. If you're already doing well and you like what you're doing, this is not a video to teach anybody really. It's just to help those that you know, ain't never really painted a whole lot. This can be, you know, maybe a way that gets them going. If not, it's also for people that don't paint at all, that just wants to enjoy watching how it works. They always had an interest in it. At this point, you can probably tell I really don't have a light source in mind at this point. I'm not quite done building my painting. I'm liable to come in here and put a street lamp right here. Don't know yet. So I don't like to say where my light source is at this point on this particular piece of Santa Claus. It's still in the makings, but at this point I can go either way. Most of my shades are going to be bottom up. In a minute I'll get a zoom in so you can see, where you can still see where my drawing is still intact. Most likely my light source is going to come from here, and it will be up high. Now, I'll think that way a little bit, but like I said, at any point I want to change my light source, it won't be hard to do. Now, I know my light source will be overhead, so where this beard is, that's where my darks are going to stay. So I might just smudge a little bit of reds up in here, but up in here is going to stay kind of dark. And those are just, you know, no-brainers for me. I already know that my light source will be overhead, one way or the other. So that allows me to leave that where it's at. And as you can tell, if we can get a zoom, you can still see my drawing sketch. I kind of leave those in there as I fill in. As I continue, of course, the belt, it's going to have a shadow, so I'll work bottom up here with my lights. And if you get a good zoom in here, you can see my sketch here. All I'm really going to do is just work bottom up and keep my sketch. Now this back side right here, I'm going to stay right in here with it. I'm going to keep it kind of dark. Not much light's going to be able to get up in here. So I'm just going to kind of heat it a little bit and just kind of play a little bit of light on it. And trust me when I say light, we haven't hit the light yet. It may look pretty red, but it's not where it's going to be by far yet. But I hope we can get a zoom in, and I hope you're getting to see this where you can still see my sketch. Those are my wrinkles, and they will have creases, which will allow it to be dark. And the reason why I'm working bottom up on this part is because of the belt, him, himself. The light's going to be on top, which direction it's coming from. I'm thinking it's going to be more on this side. That's really all I got to work with. If so, my light will be coming this way. So I go bottom up, so the light that's coming down would hit this right here, which means when this is white, his ruffle here, the white will hit the top, which the bottom will stay gray for the shadow of the white. So that's why I'm working bottom up. That's where my light will be. As you can see, I just kind of faded up under his belt at this point. Real simple. And that's how I like to keep my paintings. I like to keep them simple. At this point anyway. There's no special brush strokes at this point that I would say. I mean, myself, I wouldn't say that I'm using anything special. I'm basically just roughing it in. And you'll hear me say that quite a bit, roughing it in, because I make my brain think that way. I don't want to overpaint at this point, by no means. Most of the painting that you've already seen in the other clip is still a rough end. It's a lot farther than a rough end, but it's still considered a rough end because I'm still tweaking and changing and moving things. And if you've seen my last Christmas painting, you would know that by looking at it, the finished product. You'll see a lot of changes that was made in the process. Now I'm going to take a little bit of light, and I'm thinking as we paint, and that's how most of my work does, is I don't want my light over here. So in the process of painting Santa Claus right here, I'm already thinking my light's going to be over here. So it's a good time to give you a tease or a glimpse into how bright his suit may or may not end up looking, but it's going to be bright. This will give you a little idea of kind of what it's going to start looking like in the end. It's going to be pretty bright. I love playing with color, and I can't think of nothing better in this picture because he is my subject, him and Rudolph. That's what Christmas is all about, in my opinion, is Santa Claus. He's one of my biggest themes. And I'm really going to make him my subject matter in this picture. You notice I haven't put a lot of reds in my picture. There will be some, but I wanted the focus, or the spotlight, should we say, to be on Santa. So as you can tell, this is like a little tease. I don't usually do it this early, but it gives you an opportunity early on to kind of see where I'm trying to go with it. Then I'll enhance my reds even more so with oranges. That's how I highlight my reds. So back to the mid-tones. This gives you an idea of where I'm wanting to go with it. Now I'm going to come back on this wrinkle right here and just kind of push it. What happens with a wrinkle is it pushes the light towards the light, the color of your subject. It'll actually push that light that lets it hit. Shadow pushes light. I believe that to know light is to know dark, and to know dark is to know light. They work hand in hand. A lot of people ask me about my light, how I make them work. Well, it's a tricky question, and it's really something that takes a while to explain. I probably wouldn't be that good at it. I just know that I like to use my darks, and to me they're just as important as my lights. Now let's come on down here to the britches. In here I'm probably going to be pretty dark, so I'm going to leave it alone right now while I'm loaded with a good mid-tone base. Just going to let it work back up. I'm going to work bottom up again. Just making sure that I don't lose my drawing. Like I said, I lose that and I'm backing up. I don't want to back up. I want to to keep going forward. As my brush starts to run out of paint, you'll notice I'll start pushing the tops where the shadows are going to be. I let my brush just go in there. As it starts to run out of paint, it gives it a faded look naturally. When I reload my paint, you'll notice I'll come to the bottom and start working on those. Now these wrinkles, they will actually intertwine with each other. They will blend. I'll start doing a lot more blending to get them to move. Like I said, it's just the rough end. Now that I'm thinking, and it can change, I'm still kind of in the middle, but I'm working my way to my light source being over here. So I'm going to start working that way, that direction. It's going to help my time actually to start motivating my time towards that. Like I said, I'll keep working bottom up. As my paint starts to run out, right before I have to reload it, you'll catch me coming up in here and drifting my paint up into the shadow areas. Then it gets to a point where there's not much on there, so I reload. Then I'll go back to the bottom and hit it again. Now I will be back in a little bit for the next clip. I hope you can stay with me. Thank you.